Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out The Bard's Tale. This is not the 80s computer RPGs, which I was extremely disappointed to find out. This is the 2004 PS2 Xbox game that I have never heard of in a new Remastered and Resnarkled edition. Yes, Resnarkled. That is the most horrible name I've ever heard. We'll go and have a look at it. So, not that much to see in the menus. Oddly enough, the extras menu doesn't actually contain anything. I assume this is something that unlocks when the game finishes, but at the same time, if it's something that unlocks when the game finishes, I don't know why they bothered to have it out here until the before the game is over. Not that much to see in the options. You do have your sound options, which goes all the way up to 11, because of course it does. Subtitles, damage, text, brightness, map. It's all pretty obvious stuff. I recommend keeping the brightness on max just because it's... Even with the OLED Vita on maximum brightness, it can be really hard to see the darker dungeons, which is kind of annoying. So, yeah. Let's just go load into my game right away. I've got two save games here, and there's a... Well, it's not so much a save game that I want to do, but there's a thing that I will want to do, which will... brainwork me up. I'll get to it later. So we'll load into my save game first up here. My first save game up here, not my save game first. This save game is before a bit where there's a bunch of talking so that you can hear some of the voice acting. And, well, all the voice acting is of the extremely heavily British persuasion, and it sounds very odd. I'm going to have to do all of this before we actually go hopping into the game proper. But this will give you an idea of what the voice acting is like and what the jokes we're working with are.
I'm looking for a man named Bove. Have you seen him?
Bove? You're looking for Bove? Look, everyone! It's another chosen one!
I didn't even know you could talk to that guy. But yeah, all the voice actors are of the heavily British persuasion, and they all have jokes. Hopefully.
Excuse me. Do you know where I might find one Bove?
Aye, I be one Bove. And may I ask who you be?
I'm a weary traveller in need of a small favour. I've been sent here from Houghton by one of your brothers. I was told you would have some music that might be of interest to me.
It will be my pleasure to assist you. But first, how do I know you speak the truth about coming from Houghton?
I can only ask that you believe what I say is true.
Okay, here's what you do. Go down this street, and you'll find the real Bove.
Your name isn't Bove?
Of course it is. Why would I lie about that?
But you said...
I'm Bove. I'm just not the Bove you want. It's not like I've cornered the market on the name Bove.
I'm not too fond of your attitude.
Good. That means I've done as intended. Now just take yourself that way and you'll find who you need. Just ask for Bove, and tell him Bove sent you.
Yeah, wow, okay. Yeah, so that's the humor you're working with in this game. It's all relatively obvious and very heavily snarky
That's the Bard.
humor.
The Bard?
Those are the sorts of jokes you get all throughout this thing. There are also some other things that you get from time to time.
You don't remember
There's songs.
Finstown.
The game just has this annoying tendency to break into musical number from time to time, and the songs are about a minute longer than they need to be, and they're not that clever to begin with, and...
You remember Finstown?
Yeah, this game's writing, it really is... They call it a snark take on the sort of fantasy thing you got going on here, but more correctly would be cynical. It's more of a cynical take on all your typical fantasy tropes. And it's not exactly... Wow, okay. It's not exactly that entertaining writing. Because most of the jokes drag on for way too long, and some of them aren't funny. Some of them just don't land. I mean, a lot of the jokes are just poking fun at a few things. It's just like saying, "Oh, look at this! This is something that we do."
Some little kid just...
And then it just doesn't really turn that into a joke. That happens a fair bit more often than you might like.
Do I look like a monster to you?
But yeah, Definitely a very highly cynical take on a typical fantasy world. However, is it good enough? Is the writing good enough to carry the game's plot? Well, not really, and that's mainly because of the main character here, himself, the Bard. The Bard is an asshole. The Bard is an absolute massive pain in the neck, and he has this awful tendency to insult everyone he comes across. He's out for no one but himself, and there just seems to be absolutely no redeeming qualities to him whatsoever. You might be wondering, well, what about this little system you got going on, where you can pick between a bad answer and a good answer? Well, it's basically him gritting his teeth and trying to avoid being an asshole while giving the typical fantasy response, and then when you press square, he basically just tries to run his sword through everybody he sees. And that is...
And tell him, Bove.
That it just doesn't work. At least I don't think it works. He has absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Like the one good thing he has.
Walked off to meet Bove.
Very funny.
The one good thing he's got going for him is the fact that he picked up this dog. There is of course also a narrator, which you heard there if you could hear him over me talking, and the narrator is alright, but he suffers from the same problem. He likes to poke fun at stuff by just saying, hey, look at this thing that we do, isn't this stupid? And then it just doesn't carry it on into a joke.
What do you call yourself?
Might as well do the negative answers just to give you a rough idea. I don't think the negative answers actually changed that much about the game itself.
Unless you wish to be
Admittedly, I'll give the game credit for having literally everyone be voice acted, and the voice acting isn't so terrible that it makes me cringe inside out.
How could I take you to the Bove who can actually
It's just, yeah, the writing... It's just
basic.
cynical on top of cynical on top of cynical on top of maybe one decent joke every once in a while. And honestly, it's just too much cynical. It's like eating cheesecake topped with cheesecake, topped with cheesecake. It's just, you get sick of it after a while. It just takes an absolute flippin' age to get anywhere. Thankfully, you can skip, and the Bard is actually kind of amusing, because he says, next. When he does, like, it's obvious he's getting annoyed. Like, if I press circle here.
Please. Heard it already.
Heard it already. Yep, he does that. And you can talk to these guys... You can talk to these guys more than once,
But that depends on how
which is
painful
actually kind of annoying. It took me a while to figure out this quest, just to
slow death
demonstrate
seems
it.
appropriate at the
But
moment.
this is basically all you do. You go, at least in this part of the game anyway, you wander around, you talk to people, you listen to them crack a joke, or at least try to crack a joke, and sometimes it's funny, most of the time it's not, and it tends to be surprisingly annoying more often than not. Which is really unfortunate. Like, massively unfortunate, because I could see this with decent writing being a really good time, but, well, the jokes just don't hit well enough often enough to make it really worth the time.
I'm sure seeing enough of it. Care to show me more?
Which is kind of unfortunate, because I was looking forward to a little bit of a laugh, and all the reviews, or at least all the little synopsises reviews I looked up before I came around to this one, yeah, for some reason I get to just walk to this guy again and do another cutscene.
Again. Let me spell it out for you. I'm not going to help another loser who can't stand up for himself.
It's odd.
How about
But yeah,
I beat you
it's
senseless
just...
for my own amusement?
That's more like
Yeah,
it.
it's
Let's
weird.
Go find Bove.
All the little reviews said that this was a relatively funny game, but then again, I guess they've got some surprisingly low standards for humor if this is what they take for one of the funniest games I've ever played. Which, it just seems out of place, but anyway.
Invited to the party.
Believe me, this is no party.
So yeah, this is pretty much an example of the jokes. They go on for too long,
That's a shame.
they aren't particularly funny to begin with, and they're just not very enjoyable on the whole.
More Bove gonna hurt.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to backpack out to the main menu, and I'm going to go and show you one of the songs. Because I've seen 3 of them, and they were all shit. I mean, they were all really, really bad. The first one wasn't extremely bad, but it wasn't great either. So,
You'd like to hear a
if
new
I'm really
story?
quick about this,
Oh, very
I can
well.
show you a
So we
song,
begin.
and then I'll actually come back and explain what the
come
actual
to this.
game is like. We'll immediately get put into a bar, the Drunken Rat, and I'll just skip the rest of these cutscenes. Annoyingly enough, if you press the circle button too fast, you won't be able to skip some cutscenes without waiting for them. But anyway, here's a song.
The drunken rat, the aching drum, and Trody's pub as well. One thing you can be sure of, it's Charlie's beer they sell.
So all you lads and lasses at 11 o'clock you stop for 5 short seconds. Remember Charlie Moss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, he must have been an admiral, a sultan, or a king. Unto his praises we shall always sing. Look what he's done for us, he still does up with cheer. Lord bless Charlie Moss, the man who invented beer, 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 tiddly beer, beer, beer.
And then a moat, a bushel of hooks, you steal around with your stick. The kind of lubrication to make your engines tick.
30 pence a wallop a day will keep away the quacks. It's only 8 pence halfpenny and only 6 in tax.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey, must have been an admiral, a sultan, or a king. Unto his praises we shall always sing. Look what he has done for us, he's filled us up with cheer. Lord bless Charlie Moss, the man who invented beer, 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 tiddly beer, 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 tiddly beer, beer, beer. The Lord bless Charlie Moss.
So yeah, there's a song for you. They come up with a few of them throughout the game. There's obviously like a dozen of them based on that little extras menu that we went browsing through at the beginning of the video. But it...
Now then,
that
yes,
could
I
have
remember.
been half the length and had the same impact, or even better, more impact. So, and that's how all the songs feel, especially when they just come out of bloody nowhere. It's just like, okay, this is just going to go on forever, isn't it? And that's what happens pretty much the entire bloody time. But we're going to go straight to Finn's Farm now, which is my second save game, which is slightly more combat proficient, but not really. And we're going to go over this game's combat and why it's the worst thing I've played since bloody Neverend. Oh god, I wasn't expecting to play 2 games that just coincidentally sync up with this style of gameplay. But anyway, here we are. This is the combat area that I'm currently up to, and to get any further, I get the feeling I'm going to need to do some grinding. And as you can see on the save title thing, on the load save thing, I've been playing for about 2 hours, 10 minutes. It's probably closer to 2.5, because when you die, you have to reload your last save. But whatever. We'll go and we will fight a couple of bastards here, shall we? So, this is the Bard's Tales combat. You wander around, you hit the X button, and you do an attack. You can do an attack chain, and that will just stick you in place, more or less. And you have to, more or less, just try and beat the crap out of everything. You're not alone in this method, of course. You can see that I've got 2 party members summoned, and this is where the game has most of its originality in its combat. You can summon multiple members of, like, a bunch of different spells that you have in order to help you out. So as you can see, I've currently got the healer and the ranger companions. So the archer just does some damage for me, and the healer will keep us all at maximum health, which is nice. It costs mana to summon these, so you can't go just spamming them, and as you can see, I can only have 2 out at a time. But I literally only just unlocked the item that will give you the that will give you an extra summoning slot. So I've only been able to summon one up to this point. So you kill things and you pick up their items, and unlike a Diablo game, this is definitely an action RPG in the Diablo vein, but unlike pretty much every other game like that type, in this game, everything you pick up immediately gets converted to money. Now, if you were able to, like, pick up equipment and just, you know, stand a slightly better chance against stuff, I wouldn't have a problem. But the majority of equipment you get in this game is either looted from treasure chests, and it's all, like, preset stuff. There's no procedurally generated gear or anything like that in this game. It's all items that you buy or items that you find. And I'm currently working with a sword that I found. I had to buy the upgrade that let you get two summons. And I had to, yeah, and I basically also had to earn a couple of abilities as well. So if I hit the select button, I can show you what we're working with in terms of RPG stuff. So health, mana, experience, all your stats there, they're all pretty obvious except for rhythm. Rhythm makes your companions more powerful, right? So the quest log is pretty obvious. You have your primary concern, which is your story quest, and then a couple of side quests on the right there. And it's all pretty simple stuff. If you're near one, you'll have a little yellow dot that'll point you in the right direction. You can come here to check out all your equipment. And I bought a flail thinking, oh, that might actually be a good thing to have later. But as it turns out, it was not a good thing to have because that weapon is shit because the wind-up time is ridiculous. And since you can buy items but you can't refund them, so I couldn't give the flail back. And by the time I realized that I'd made a mistake, I was screwed. I couldn't go and sell it again without reloading a save that was an hour back. You also have different kinds of armor and bucklers as well, which will give you a little bit extra defense, but it's really, really basic stuff. It's just straight upgrades, more or less. At least so far. You can learn your different tunes here, and you can see all your different companions that you can summon. I've got the Crone, who's your cleric, Thunder Spider, the Heroine, who's the Archer, the Light Fairy, which has light, and you can also summon a rat, which is surprisingly annoying. Also, the narrator keeps talking over the top of everything, so you can actually read this.
Creature attracted by music. Always
you can read this perfectly fine by yourself, but he just tends to bump in and be annoying. You also have talents, and talents are kind of annoying because you only get these every second level, and they lock some really important stuff behind these, like Shield Bash, and I'll explain why that's a problem shortly. And you've also got tokens. Tokens are just things that give you outright stat boosts that you can get via, like, side quests and stuff like that. That's really it. Side quests aren't that common, especially in the later game as far as I'm aware. There are also a bunch of other annoying things. Like, for example, performance. That was the perfect time to bring it up. Did you see how I slowed down there? That wasn't me, that was the game. The game sometimes performs alright, and sometimes just falls flat on its fucking ass. It'll slow down massively for no discernible reason. Now to get on to the other parts of combat. Like, if you press the, say, the L and R buttons, this is how you get to your summons. And then you've also got two other types of summoning on the rear touchpad, which are very easy to fall onto, including this one here, which is literally just using this here, using those crystals in the bottom left, which are a limited resource, you can give yourself health back. So, having these four things here doesn't make much sense to me, because you could have just used the touchscreen instead of the rear touchpad. I get the idea they were playing this on a 2000 dev kit, since it's harder to hit the rear touchpad on that. On the 1000, which is what I'm using, it can be a massive pain in the ass because your finger will slip and you'll suddenly end up with the game stopping in its tracks and you'll be wondering, like, what the fuck was I meant to be doing? But then you realize you just accidentally brought this up and you need to press it again in order to make it go away, and it's kind of annoying. The other annoying thing about this game is the combat. So, the way this game's combat works, at least as far as I can tell... Oh, there's another chosen one over here, apparently.
If you were another of those chosen ones, looks like the only thing you'd have been chosen for is lunch. I'm guessing you don't mind if I borrow this armor. Though it doesn't seem to do much good against wolves.
Oak leaf armor, apparently. Okay, whatever. I don't know how that would help you out more than your standard armor. And we have... Oh, no. Alright, we get to suffer through this. Have fun. And by you, I mean And by us, I mean you, because I don't have my headphones in.
When you think you're full of luck,
In the bullocks you'll get struck.
oh, it's bad luck you'll be you. The wolves over yonder packed a punch. So listen carefully to our hunch. To be the chosen one
Really sounds like loads of fun.
but in the end you'll just be someone's lunch. Oh, it's bad luck to be you. The prophecy is never coming true. In the pickle you'll be stuck.
Like a chicken you will cluck.
Oh, it's bad luck to be you. You're morally
Alright, I'm not gonna make you sub through any more of that. That is...
Move along.
Yeah. As I said, it literally just comes out of nowhere, so there you go. The other problem with the combat in this game is the blocking. Now, if you press the circle button... also, by the way, you can order your
Stand your ground.
guys to do
Come to
stuff
me.
on the D-pad. That
Charge.
works well enough. I'm not going to argue too heavily against it.
Back off.
I'll tell them to back off just so I can actually get through this next bit. So, the blocking in this game is weird. So, when you fight something, say for example, these bastards.
Charge!
Taking aim.
So if
You're a little soft,
once enough of these birds die, these scarecrows will come to life and we'll start fighting them. There we go. So, the annoying thing about blocking in this game is you have a block, and
Bullseye.
under normal circumstances, you will, if you have the timing right, you will be able to block something and you don't actually get the ability to attack back until you get shield bash. But the way blocking in this game works is the enemies also have access to it too. So you can be attacking an enemy and almost a literal random, like I'm pretty sure this is random, although I have yet to be told otherwise. As you can see, I'm literally getting my ass kicked here because I can only block one of these bastards at a time. But the blocking in this game seems to be entirely random as to whether the enemies will do it. And this makes the combat even more annoying just because you'll be hitting an enemy and they'll just immediately block
I think we could all see that.
and you'll get knocked back and then they'll be able to go on the offensive again. This seems to happen at random with different enemy types. Like, some will never do it, but some will do it so much it just turns into a really frustrating situation like this one, where you end up being unable to really do anything just because they block so often and there's enough of them to be a massive pain in the ass. And you might think to yourself, why not just grind? Grinding takes ages. The problem with grinding in this game is that not only do you have to grind for levels, you only get 2 skill points per level, which, trust me, really doesn't make that much of a difference. And then you have to also grind money, and money pickups drop at random. So you will spend an absolute ton of time going through this relatively boring combat because these sword slashes are unappealing to say the least, and they feel like they have barely any impact, and they're quite hard to control. So it's not a very satisfying way of swinging your sword at all. Diablo 3, this ain't. Combine this with the amount of time that you have to spend actually fighting these enemies to grind. And I've already had to put my nose to the grindstone once in 2 hours of game time, and this will be my second. So it just seems entirely unnecessary to have so much grinding time with a combat system that is so generic and stiff. Which is funny, considering this is meant to be like a parody of a game, of your typical RPG, where considering this is meant to be a parody of a typical RPG, where you're the bard, the fact that the bard takes up a sword and basically starts cutting shit up, and that's basically the best way to play him, more or less, is kind of retarded, I gotta say. So combine a boring combat system with lots of grinding and just a relative frustration at how long it takes to actually beat some of these enemies and stuff. Combine that with writing that only rarely really hits the mark. And performance that isn't very good. Like, seriously, look at it slow down. Look, I start walking at the speed of a very slow, mentally slow person. Just combine those things together, and you have a game that's just not that fun. And I find it really hard to recommend. Even if you do like the endless amounts of snark that the game has, even if you do like that, the combat is enough to really... the combat's really enough to make me just not want to play this game anymore. It's just so terminally boring. Like, honest to God, it's just... You spend so much time...
Back off.
Advancing
Over here.
Caution.
You spend so much time just wandering around, listening to characters try to be funny and mostly fail, and then you have to go and play this boring as sin combat. And it's just not that much fun. That's really all there is to it. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's a massive pain in the ass. And I do not like it. Look at how much health those bastards have. Alright, finally killed him. Apparently I got a 60 credit diploma. Bloody hell, that's the most expensive thing I've seen all game. I'll spawn in the Thunder Spider so you can see how it works, but it's basically just gonna die as soon as it comes into contact with these bastards.
Over here.
On the move.
Over here.
On the move.
Come on, Thunder Spider. Actually, whoop, my finger slipped over the rear touch. Come on, I blocked that. The block is really annoying too, just because of, just because of its timing. Like, it's easy to hit, but if you miss it, it takes ages to come down from the animation. So you just end up in a really bad position. Let me summon the, I'm gonna summon the Cleric again, and getting through these menus is a bit of a pain as well. Although, with that spawn spot, she's basically immediately going to die.
I'll put a spell on you.
That was surprisingly... Oh, down I go. Never mind, I didn't realize my health was that low.
Next time.
So yeah, that was a quick look at the Bard's Tale. I don't like the combat, I don't like the characters, I don't like the humor, I don't think this game is very good at all. Which is unfortunate, really, because it was a bit of a surprise. This game basically came out the week it was announced. And even then it wasn't even real. Well, was it really announced? It kind of showed up in the drop on the European PlayStation blog before anything else, which was really weird. Like, I'm surprised they didn't take the time to announce it, but yeah. I'm not that big of a fan of it, and I wouldn't recommend it. So there you go. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.